the Gollum Cave.
Our story starts in Provo, Utah, the place best known as the location of the massive Y Mountain. Provo is the fourth most populous city in the state of Utah and is located 43 miles, 69 kilometers, away from Salt Lake City. Despite the fact that it is largely urbanized, the region has many caves and is therefore a mecca for spelunking. Y Mountain, favorite among hikers and other tourists, holds a secret within its walls: Gollum Cave, or the Cave of Death as some call it. 5 friends, Jennifer Galbraith, Blake Donner, Scott McDonald, Ariel Singer, and Joseph Ferguson, embarked on this unknown cave in August 2005. Their joy was apparent. Little did they know that this particular journey would turn out to be disastrous. It was at night on the 17th of August when the group set off on the journey. They arrived at the cave at exactly 2:00 a.m. Despite the late hour and the darkness, their spirits were high. Jennifer had had hypothermia and fainted during one of her previous attempts to travel through the cave's underwater passages. However, she had to assure her friends that they could safely swim through a 15-feet underwater tunnel. Wanting to go further, Blake Donner, Scott McDonald, and Ariel Singer followed her. Joseph Ferguson, however, refused to follow them and jokingly named the site the Cave of Death, which saved his life. At 3 a.m., the group assembled at the entrance of the cave, where a guide rope was placed to take them inside. Equipped with a single flashlight, McDonald, Donner, Galbraith, and Singer entered Gollum's cave at 4 a.m. They entered through a water channel to a small chamber with a water pool and a passage to the large chamber. Swimming was necessary in the tunnel, which was approximately 15 feet long and was navigated using a rope. The entrance to Gollum Cave is not very impressive, but as soon as you enter the 4 feet tall tunnel, there is a foot of water. The rest of the cave could be accessed only through an 18 by 24-inch hole filled with water, and after crawling through this tunnel for about 100 feet. At one point, approximately 1,500 feet into the cave, the group faced a narrow passage called the Funnel. The passage was like a chute with minimal room to move and crawl through. Jennifer went first. She got into the icy water and swam through the small hole in the ice. Her friends fell one by one: Blake, Scott, and Ariel. Joseph chose to remain in the camp. Maybe he had a premonition that this place was indeed known as the Killer Cave. On entering, they were in a small chamber with a height of about 612 feet with water to the waist. The atmosphere was quiet, and unknown to them, the oxygen level in the room was critically low. Having entered the confined space, they probably started experiencing the symptoms of bad air, a term used by cavers to describe air that is insufficient in oxygen and replete with carbon dioxide. This could occur in areas such as this cave, which is enclosed and has little or no air circulation. The bad air is not the standard air, which is composed of 21% oxygen and 79% nitrogen. A major threat in such habitats is the accumulation of carbon dioxide, especially in closed water bodies within caves that do not exchange water with outside sources. Several factors contributed to the accumulation of carbon dioxide: tourism, deforestation, pollution by visitors that leads to reduced oxygen, limestone caves through natural processes, and decaying plants. Continued burning of candles also limited the oxygen available, as it was a key factor that contributed to the fire. When there was no airflow, CO2 remained at higher concentrations near the water level. The friends probably suffered from reduced mental and physical performances after a short stay in the inner chamber, probably due to the poor air quality, a factor they were probably unaware of. Understanding the risk involved, it may have tried to escape right away. But, because of the long and confined tunnel that was available, only one person could climb out at a time. This could have been the reason why Jennifer, who came out first, probably was having a lot of difficulty in trying to locate the hole before she ran out of breath. The oxygen levels would have been below the normal range, and she would have been unable to hold her breath for any longer than 60 seconds without passing out. Ariel, the next in succession, would also have been in the same situation. If she were in an environment where the concentration of carbon dioxide was higher, then her rate of respiration would have been 2 times higher, and hence she would be struggling for breath. And in the last moments, she would have frantically scoured for the door in a vain attempt to escape the grim end awaiting her. Blake and Scott, who had been laboring under the heat, would have been made to feel that their oxygen levels were dwindling, and the carbon dioxide levels were rising with each minute. The darkness only added to the feeling of urgency and discomfort that was now expected from the audience. Joseph Ferguson, who stayed outside the cave, suffered the longest. Needless to say, his desire to run was cut short by the sight of his friends lying on the ground unconscious. He may have fallen unconscious shortly due to his weakened condition. He was alone until he decided to seek help. It took 45 minutes before he contacted a friend for guidance, eventually prompting the emergency call at 6:30 a.m. The following day, a large-scale search and rescue operation was conducted. It did not take long for the rescue team of expert cavers and local authorities to get to the scene established at Gollum Cave. The confined spaces compounded with the position of the trapped cavers made the rescue process very difficult. To get a passage through the cave, the rescue teams inflated it and siphoned out the water. Sadly, it was too late. They discovered the bodies of Jennifer first, and the others, Ariel, Blake, and Scott, all piled up in a corner. It was determined that the air in the cave had probably been responsible for it. There was carbon dioxide accumulation that could be due to erosion, plant decomposition, or even other occupants of the cave. The absence of oxygen would have led to their confusion, panic, and death. Thus, in order to prevent further tragedies, people opened the entrance and filled it with concrete so no one could get in there anymore. The Gollum Cave tragedy was widely publicized. KSL-TV and KUTV gave detailed coverage of the event that showed the agony of the families and the strenuous work of the rescuers. KSL-TV covered the operation in detail, giving real-time updates and the interviews with the rescue team, the caving professionals, and the friends of the lost parties. Families and the Brigham Young University community were mentioned as having been affected emotionally, and KUTV pointed out the importance of safety precautions and preparation. This made many people across the country discuss issues to do with caving and the dangers associated with adventure activities. A detailed study was conducted to determine the deficiencies that led to the occurrence of such mishaps in the future. It explained that although some of the members in the group had some caving experience, they did not have the kind of skills and equipment required in the exploration of an advanced cave system. Caving is not a dangerous activity as long as it is done correctly, and those going caving have appropriate training, gear, and preparation. The unfortunate demise of Jennifer, Blake, Scott, and Ariel is a clear testimony that safety and precautions should always be observed with extreme sports. Caving is a challenging physical activity that involves a lot of skill, experience, planning, and understanding of the environment. In essence, caving is not an activity that should be undertaken lightly. It is a process that demands professional training and several years of practice. New cavers should only go for guided tours or choose less complex cave systems, while experienced cavers should always be learning or refreshing their skills. Adequate gear is essential. This ranges from helmets, headlamps, appropriate clothing to wear, and safety harness. Other equipment may also be required, such as the air quality meters and the communication equipment. Thorough planning is crucial. This includes understanding the cave system, the dangers involved, and how to approach overcoming them. Every caver should ensure that somebody else who is not in the caving team is aware of the planned caving activities and the expected time of return besides the planned route. Caves are very sensitive habitats, and people who visit these areas should not harm the surrounding features or violate the rules. The tragedy that occurred in the Gollum Cave brought a lot of emotional stress to the families and friends of the miners. Jennifer, Blake, Scott, and Ariel were young and successful people with the whole future ahead of them. Their loss is one of the things that can never be replaced in anybody's life. As a result of the disaster, people demanded more stringent rules and protective equipment in caving and other adventurous activities. Some suggested that those who wanted to venture in the deeper caves should undergo safety training and receive a pass. Some people recommended that some of the caves should be off-limits to inexperienced cavers. The mishap of the Gollum Cave also contributed to the development of better procedures for cave rescue missions. It was indicated that rescue activities require proper training and equipment in order to respond to such difficult and risky operations. The concept of Gollum Cave and its tragedy hits the chord of people's memory concerning the balance between the adventurous actions and security. The tragic deaths of Jennifer, Blake, Scott, and Ariel serve as a cautionary tale of how dangerous extreme sports can indeed be. Their actions are very important as a lesson to those who wish to embark on similar expeditions, in that they should do so with respect, well prepared, and with caution. As the memory of these young lives is cherished, let us also pay tribute to them by making sure that their story does not repeat itself.